A major challenge to Ramaphosa's immigration plan has just emerged. A prominent community leader says government measures don't go far enough and is now calling for a state of emergency and military deployment at South Africa's borders. Is this the action many South Africans have been demanding? Stay tuned as we dive into the main story.
Overall, what did you make of President Cyril Ramaphosa's address yesterday? Did this address the issues you thought were very key and important? Potso, I'm not sure if you can hear me. Just wondering what your thoughts were with regards to President Cyril Ramaphosa's address yesterday, Potso. Did that fulfill what you had hoped he'd speak about when it comes to the illegal immigration conversation, Potso?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And I would like to indicate that we, as an organization that representing the aspirations of local communities, we're definitely not impressed. We are not convinced by the President's State of the Nation address that he did last night. And the main key issue here is that whatever he said, they've been saying this for a very long time, and it is not new to us to hear the President saying they're going to crack down on illegal immigration. And we've been crying for many years now to say that the borders must be closed, but that did not happen. Instead, the illicit product, the drugs, the weapons and all that, they remain increasing in our communities. Whereas the President should have indicated that illegal immigration should now be treated as a matter of emergency, and in order to us to mobilize all the resources in our country to curb the problem, he should have declared the state of emergency. That will assist us to ensure that the resources that they fail to allocate in order for us to curb the problem will be directed properly, so that this matter is given necessary attention. Crackdown on violations of this matter, violation of rules.
South Africa's immigration debate continues to intensify, and a fresh intervention from National Service Delivery Forum Chairperson Potso Motoko has added another layer to an already heated national conversation. Following President Cyril Ramaphosa's recent address outlining government's approach to illegal immigration, Motoko has publicly expressed dissatisfaction with the measures announced, arguing that the response does not go far enough to address what he views as a serious national challenge. According to Motoko, illegal immigration should not be treated as a routine policy issue. Instead, he believes the situation has reached a point where extraordinary measures are required. His comments suggest a growing frustration among some activists and community leaders who feel that existing government actions are inadequate when compared to the scale of public concern surrounding border security, undocumented migration, and law enforcement. What makes Motoko's intervention significant is that it comes immediately after a major national address in which President Ramaphosa attempted to reassure South Africans that government is taking the issue seriously. In his speech, the President outlined a range of measures focused on immigration enforcement, border management, documentation systems, labor law enforcement, and regional cooperation. The government position appears to be that illegal immigration is a genuine challenge that requires stronger enforcement, while also maintaining constitutional values and protecting human dignity. Motoko's response suggests that some observers remain unconvinced. At the center of his criticism is the belief that government should treat illegal immigration as an emergency situation. This is a powerful statement because emergencies typically require responses that go beyond normal administrative procedures. When public figures call for emergency measures, they are effectively arguing that conventional policy tools are no longer sufficient. This raises an important question. How should governments determine when an issue becomes serious enough to justify extraordinary action? Different groups often answer that question differently. Some believe that stronger enforcement mechanisms within existing laws are enough. Others argue that when a problem reaches a certain scale, more dramatic interventions become necessary. Motoko appears to fall into the latter category. His call for a state of emergency is perhaps the most striking part of his comments. A state of emergency is not a routine government measure. It is generally associated with situations that are considered exceptional and urgent. By advocating for such a declaration, Motoko is effectively signaling that he views illegal immigration as one of the country's most pressing immediate concerns. Whether such a proposal would gain broader support is another matter entirely. Calls for emergency powers often generate intense debate because they involve balancing security concerns with legal safeguards and constitutional principles. Supporters may argue that extraordinary circumstances require decisive action. Critics may argue that emergency measures should be reserved for situations where no other options exist. This is why Motoko's comments are likely to attract attention far beyond the immigration debate itself. They touch on larger questions about governance, state authority, and how government should respond to public concerns. Another major element of his proposal involves the deployment of the South African National Defence Force at the country's borders. Border security has become one of the most discussed aspects of the immigration debate, particularly among those who believe undocumented migration is contributing to broader social and economic challenges. The argument for military involvement is typically based on the belief that stronger border protection can reduce unauthorized crossings and improve enforcement capacity. Supporters of this approach often argue that borders represent the first line of defense against illegal activities linked to undocumented movement. However, border management is a complex issue. South Africa shares long borders with several neighboring countries, and monitoring every section presents logistical challenges. Questions about resources, personnel, technology, and coordination all become relevant when discussing border security. Motoko's recommendation reflects a perspective that border protection should be significantly strengthened, and that existing measures may not be sufficient to achieve that goal. What makes this debate particularly important is that it takes place against a backdrop of growing public concern. Immigration has become one of the most frequently discussed topics in South African political discourse. Community meetings, social media discussions, public demonstrations, and political debates increasingly feature conversations about migration, employment opportunities, public services, and law enforcement. The fact that President Ramaphosa dedicated a national address to the issue demonstrates its importance. The fact that figures such as Motoko are openly criticizing the government's approach demonstrates that the debate is far from settled. This situation highlights a broader challenge facing policymakers. Public concern about illegal immigration can create pressure for immediate action, while government institutions often operate within legal, constitutional, and practical constraints. As a result, there can be a gap between what some members of the public want and what governments believe is feasible or appropriate. The debate is also significant because it reflects different understandings of the causes of South Africa's challenges. In his address, President Ramaphosa argued that unemployment and poverty cannot be blamed solely on illegal immigration. He emphasized the need for economic growth, investment, industrial development, infrastructure expansion, and job creation. Motoko's comments, while focused on immigration enforcement, suggest a stronger emphasis on border control and emergency action. This difference in emphasis illustrates how people can agree that illegal immigration is a problem while disagreeing on the best solution. Some believe stronger enforcement should be the primary priority. Others believe enforcement must be combined with broader economic reforms. Still others argue that regional cooperation and international engagement are essential parts of the solution. These competing perspectives are likely to shape future discussions on migration policy. Another aspect worth considering is the political impact of public criticism directed at government policy. When prominent community leaders publicly challenge official responses, they contribute to the broader national conversation. Such criticism can influence public opinion, encourage further debate, and place additional pressure on decision-makers. At the same time, criticism can also serve another purpose. It can force governments to explain their policies in greater detail and justify why certain approaches have been chosen over others. In that sense, disagreements can contribute to democratic accountability by ensuring that policies are subjected to public scrutiny. What makes Motoko's comments particularly noteworthy is their timing. They come shortly after government attempted to demonstrate that it is actively responding to concerns about illegal immigration. Rather than signaling consensus, the response highlights continuing dissatisfaction among some stakeholders. This suggests that immigration is likely to remain a major topic in South African politics for the foreseeable future. The debate also reflects a larger global trend. Around the world, immigration has become one of the most politically sensitive issues in many countries. Governments are increasingly being asked to balance border security, economic needs, humanitarian obligations, labour market demands, and constitutional protections. South Africa is not unique in facing these questions. What is unique, however, are the specific historical, economic, and social circumstances that shape the South African experience. The country's high unemployment levels, economic pressures, and concerns about service delivery create a context in which immigration debates often become especially intense. As a result, proposals such as those advanced by Motoko are likely to resonate with some citizens who believe stronger action is required. At the same time, others may support the government's approach, arguing that enforcement should occur within existing constitutional frameworks and that broader economic challenges require broader solutions. This raises one of the central questions emerging from the current debate. Is illegal immigration primarily a border security issue, an economic issue, a governance issue, or a combination of all three? The answer may ultimately determine which policy approaches gain the most support. For now, what is clear is that the discussion is evolving. President Ramaphosa has presented one vision for addressing immigration challenges. Potso Motoko has offered a different perspective, one that calls for more urgent and more forceful intervention. Whether government adopts any of the measures advocated by Motoko remains uncertain. What is certain is that his comments have added momentum to an already active national conversation. As South Africa continues grappling with questions of migration, security, economic opportunity, and public confidence, competing visions for the future are likely to emerge. The challenge for policymakers will be finding solutions that address legitimate concerns while remaining consistent with the country's legal framework and constitutional values. And that may be the most important lesson from this latest development. The debate is no longer simply about immigration itself. It is increasingly becoming a debate about how South Africa defines security, governance, accountability, and national priorities in a rapidly changing environment.